Hey guys, James Brown with Barton Springs Mill here for your next episode of Ask Your Miller Mondays. Hey guys, welcome to episode 5 of Ask Your Miller Monday. Got some great questions today. Thanks for all of the interesting questions that keep coming in. You're really geeking out and you're taxing my abilities, which is good for my brain. I appreciate it. So we're going to jump right in here. Number 1 is, similar to roasted coffee, does ground wheat have a reduced shelf life? Yes, it absolutely does. One of the amazing things about wheat and other grains is that in the whole berry form, they're like little time capsules, and they are very slow to age or to degrade in quality. I believe the FDA says that you have a minimum of 7 years before wheat degrades significantly in quality. But the minute that you fracture those berries open and expose, in particular, the oils from those berries to oxygen, they start to oxidize and they will over time go rancid. Apart from quality, these little time capsules and these whole berries really have an amazing long life in terms of germination. There have been wheat berries found in many different places. One in particular, the Masada in Israel, from the time of the Roman occupation, that have actually been able to be sprouted and grown. So it's amazing how these nature's little time capsules are able to survive for such amazing amounts of time. Great question. Will Spelt and emmer return? Yes. We're not currently growing emmer. We're buying that from other farmers, and we're waiting to see what's going to be available to us this year. It is certainly on our to-do list. The big 3 ancient grains, emmer, einkorn, and spelt, are a little difficult to grow, and they're difficult to process. They all have this outer hull that does not thresh freely, meaning when the grain is threshed, those hulls do not fall away of their own accord. So we have to have a special piece of equipment that abrades or wears or rubs off these outer shells. We have a machine to do that, and we're learning every day how to operate it a little better. But it's been a challenge, to say the least. It is one of the more challenging parts of producing these 3 grains. We did grow spelt this year, and it was pretty much a complete bust. Quite a tragic story for our farmer. They use a contract harvester to come in at the end of the season and to do all of their combining for them. And unfortunately, the combine operator was not paying attention, and because of these holes that are attached to each grain, aerodynamically it acts a little bit like a sail. So in the cleaning process that happens in the combine, you are blowing air across these grains as they fall into the cleaning apparatus. And he had the air turned up too high and blew most of the grain out the back of the combine. Really not great. On 40 acres, we came in with just about 2 tons. That's what we need to set aside for seed stock, so at least we didn't lose our seed stock, but we won't have spelt until June of 2021. I'm hoping emmer, probably an Ethiopian blue-tinged emmer, we might have back in stock here within the next 2 to 3 weeks. Let's see. What contributes to moisture variation in flour, and how can we test before baking? Wow, that's an awesome question and a really complicated question. We are able to test here for moisture. We have moisture measuring equipment, in particular for whole grain. We can't measure for flour once it's milled. The machine, the testing apparatus does not work for that. So we send it to a laboratory to have it tested for moisture. Our primary concern is that it's below about 13.5% moisture, so that we don't have a scenario where we can have foodborne illness pathogens proliferating. As far as performance goes, all the white papers that I've seen on this subject suggest that shifts in humidity level within the average U.S. home, which would be, let's say, on the extreme end, 20% relative humidity in the driest of wintertime, to 80% in our more balmy climates in the spring and summer, probably only have about a 3% swing on the overall weight of the flour. Excuse me. So in terms of weighing out your flour for a recipe and getting your ratio of flour to water spot on, there's probably not more than about a 3% swing. Given that most home scales have a margin for error of at least 1 and 2 or 2%, we're not talking about that much difference. So I'm not sure that chasing that particular data point is all that helpful. We do know that the more damp or the higher the humidity level in the flour, the more readily it accepts and absorbs additional moisture. Seems a bit counterintuitive. But I think for most people, most experienced bakers, there's probably no discernible difference in performance characteristics for this little swing in moisture within the flour. I think your time's much better spent refining and honing your powers of observation to tell minor differences through feel in the dough as you're developing the dough. But to test at home, the only way I'm aware of to test at home is to take a sample of flour, weigh it, then put it in the oven at 165 degrees for 5 to 6 hours, stirring it regularly to completely dry it out, and then weighing it again, and then you would be able to determine the moisture percentage. And I'm not sure it's worth the effort, but it'd certainly be fun to try just as an intellectual exercise. So I hope that answers that question satisfactorily. I hope all of you are having a great week. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week.